welcome to episode 2 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crafting and making all the things on the south coast of England here in Southsea and Portsmouth. You can find me online at Twitter and Instagram as at hippie_Nikki and on Ravelry as Nikki Hippie. Now, full disclosure, this is probably coming out fairly close to episode 1. I have actually filmed them a week apart, but editing is hard, right? Editing, who knew how hard it would be? So I'm still learning a lot. I want to record every Saturday, so I am going to aim to do that, even if it does mean I'm not going to be quite on a weekly publishing schedule. But I am working on it, please bear with me. Second full disclosure, I didn't get much knitting done this week. On Monday evening, I took a bit of a tumble down the stairs in our building and had to go to hospital. And I have not broken my ankle, but it is very, very badly bruised and the tendons and ligaments are all quite badly damaged. So I have been hobbling about on a crutch. So while this sounds like a perfect excuse to put your feet up and knit a lot, didn't quite work out like that. I was working from home a couple of days a week, which meant actually working slightly longer hours because obviously you end up trying to do chores around the house, which you don't do particularly well on crutches. So I was working and I don't do very well on pain medication as it turns out, and couldn't really knit. And then when I was using my crutches quite regularly at work, my hands were quite sore from using them. So there is not as much knitting content, but boy is there a lot of thought knitting content. I spent a lot of time thinking about knitting. So let's crack on with the show. Today's tea is in one of my oldest mugs. This is one of the Jamie Oliver Cheeky mugs. I had his very, very first set. I bought the Dizzy Dreamer one and they were much more kind of curved at the bottom so you could really hug it while you were drinking, which was really nice. But unfortunately that one broke. But I got this one as a Christmas gift and it says Hippie Chick, which I don't know if you can see that, Hippie Chick, which is, yeah, that's pretty much me. So today's tea, now that we have talked about today's teacup, is a slightly unusual choice because it's called Snore and Peace. So it's actually designed as a bedtime tea. It's chamomile with lemon balm and lavender. You know, I've been having a bit of a stressful week and it's just such a soothing tea, and it's really, because it's herbal tea, it's very gentle on my tummy. And I do find I get, you know, tummy aches and things when I take a lot of painkillers. So this is doing the job today. Okay, so let's start with Whipped Up. Even though, as I've said, there's not much to actually look at of what I've made, I have actually got a finished object. I know. And there's a lot of talk about what I will be having on my needles very shortly, but we'll get to that. So let's start with my Cozy Memories blanket. I was really hoping to have the first row done to show you this week, but life being life, it didn't quite happen. I'm going for 15. I was originally going to go for 12 squares, but you know, this is going to be a home family blanket, and when I spoke to Rich, he said, no, it should be wider. It should be wider. So we have compromised and gone for 15. And I am on square 13 at the moment. So last week I was here and I was talking about adding this one, which is a sort of darker rainbow from Owl About Yarn. The only disappointing thing about Owl About Yarn is none of them were labelled, so I can't tell you what the colourways are, which is a bit of a shame because I think they're so beautiful. The other Owl About Yarn was this gorgeous, let me just get that end out of the way, this gorgeous blue rainbow. It's just so lovely. So that was the first one I did this week, followed up by another from the Alice in Wonderland mini skein collection from My Mama Knits, which was Who Are You? Which is gorgeous. This reminds me of holidays. It just looks like the swimming pool at your posh hotel, doesn't it? It's gorgeous. And I put this one on next. Just see if you can hold it up as an almost square. And this is Eat Me. So all the way back down here, this green one here was Drink Me, and this is Eat Me. And I put this one next to the blue because I think it looks like a really lovely sandy English beach. It's sort of a sandy beigey colour with all these little pops of like purples and browns, like little shells in the beach, and I just thought that would look really pretty next to the blue. And just hit yourself in the face with the needles. Honestly, I'm accident prone. This is how I ended up down the stairs. So it's kind of the same thinking behind my Lily Pilly, which got no love this week, unfortunately. I'm just putting the beach next to the sea, and I have chosen the last two for my first row, and that is Queen of Hearts from, you guessed it, My Mum Knits, the Alice in Wonderland collection, which is just brilliant, really. It's just, I mean, if I hadn't told you that was Queen of Hearts, you'd have known, really, wouldn't you? And next up, this gorgeous one by Kate Celine. Again, they are not individually labelled, the Kate Celine collection, which is, again, a bit of a shame because I can't tell you exactly which one this is. It is from her Pop Fizzle collection, but no, I'm not sure, unfortunately. I figured out that this orange one was Pumpkin Spice, but I'm not sure what this one is, which is a real shame because I love it. Wouldn't this make just a gorgeous sort of really slouchy comfy jumper, or a nice loose waterfall cardigan? It's grey enough to be neutral, but with all the pops of colour, I just think it's beautiful. Yeah, so love that one. And here you can see ends and all. Terrible, terrible amount of ends. So we've got, this is my progress so far. All in tangles, tangle, tangle, tangle. Put that over my shoulder, and then you can see that's how far I've got. So it's going to be massive. I'm thinking this is probably going to take me a year to work on, which is great because it means mini skeins, projects, swaps, they're all going to end up in here, which is just brilliant, and I love it. So I'm really, really happy with that one. So I'll put that down there. And now my finished object, which I have to be honest, is kind of cheating because I only cast it on last night. I haven't woven in all the ends yet because I was so excited to show you. But look, it's a teeny tiny sweater. Isn't it so sweet? It's so cute, isn't it? It's from the Charmed Knits collection, which is where I knit my Harry Potter jumper. And I was flicking through it and I found these tiny little jumpers, which you duplicate stitch an initial on, so it's not quite finished. And you make a little wire hanger and they go on the tree as mini Christmas decorations. And I just thought they were so cute, and they would make a fantastic stocking filler for the stockings, which I showed in episode 1. So I decided to knit up a whole bunch of those, and this was literally an evening's work, so they are going to be so quick to make. And then I will figure out whose is going to be whose, duplicate stitch the initial on, and yeah, there'll be a little stocking filler to go along with the stockings. And I obviously had to gather all of my bits and bobs of yarn to figure out what colours these jumpers were going to be, and I do have to share them with you because I love them. So this was knit out of some Mad Tosh. I believe it was Whiskey Barrel was the colourway, and this was actually left over from a hat that I knit for Richard's birthday, which was the, I know it was by Truly Myrtle, Libby of Truly Myrtle, and I want to say it was called Titus. It had a gladiatorial name, so I will link it in the show notes, which you can find at the possibilityengine.blogspot.co.uk, by the way, which I probably should have mentioned at the beginning. So I think maybe he'll get the little brown jumper just because it's made from one of his projects. Next up, I've got the blue from this is what I actually knit my Harry Potter jumper out of, and this is Rowan Felted Tweed. I believe this was the teal colourway, and isn't that beautiful? You can just see all the little tweedy bits there, there's little like terracotta flashes. So that I think I could definitely get a couple of little jumpers out of, and I might have that one myself, so it's an actual mini of my jumper. And I used Debbie Bliss Blue Faced Leicester in this buttermilk colourway, And this was what I did my initial in, because I was really inspired by the Fred and George jumpers, because as we all know, they all have the initials on in the films, but in the books, only Fred and George have their initials on the jumper, because, you know, they have to be able to tell themselves apart. So I was very Fred and George inspired, and I went with blue with a yellow initial. So I definitely think I can get at least one out of the Debbie Bliss. Next up, I could probably get all of them out of this. This is left over from some knee-high socks that I knit this time last year. They were knit flat and seamed up the side, and they are my squishy autumn bed socks. I cannot for the life of me remember what this yarn was, but I love it. It's so oatmeal-y and so textured, and I just think it's going to make a great little Harry Potter jumper. So that is gorgeous. And I don't know if I've got enough of this. I really hope I have enough for at least one. But this is left over from a massive wrap I made. I started it this time last year, I think, and I finished it at the beginning of this year, and it was the Madeline Tosh Mara wrap, and it's Cascade 220 in the Midnight Heathers colourway, and you can't really, I doubt it's showing up on the camera, but it is dark blue with tiny little flashes of turquoise, and it's just gorgeous. I absolutely love it. It knit up into such a beautiful shawl. It was massive, so toasty and warm. And I just think this would make the perfect little mini jumper. So I'm hoping I can get at least one of those. Lastly, I've got my, not too sure if I can use these scraps, because it does call for DK weight yarn. The rest is all fingering sock weight. So first up, the Mad Tosh that I showed last week that I want to put into my Cozy Memories blanket. And I am hoping that I can get a jumper and a Cozy Memories square out of these. Not so sure on the green, but I definitely think I could do it on the red. So yeah, I think they would make really cute little Christmas jumpers. I was thinking I could do one in red with a green initial and then a green one with a red initial, just because I think they're so Christmassy and perfect. And then lastly, again, I showed these for my Cozy Memories blanket, so I'm hoping I've got enough for both. I may have of the Kettle Yarn Co. in this beautiful pink, which I think it might have been called Lily or something like that. But that's gorgeous. I think that would make a very glamorous, very classy and polished Christmas jumper. So maybe that one's for my mum. The Peach, also from Kettle Yarn Co. And lastly, my beautiful, beautiful ice skating party from Amy of Stranded Dye Works, which I already got a square of my Cozy Memories blanket. So definitely this will make me a little Harry Potter jumper. So really excited about those. They shouldn't take very long to make at all. And then all I have to do for my stockings is design and stitch the initials, which again was something I wanted to do this week. Again, something that went out the window. So don't fall down the stairs, guys. It will really ruin your knitting time, trust me. So that's all I've been working on, unfortunately. However, as I said, I have been thinking about knitting. I had some really lovely news recently about a baby on the way. Hashtag not pregnant. It's not me. Just want to make that really clear. But somebody who is very dear to me is having a baby. So I have been making loads of notes, I've got them all in front of me here, of things that I really, really want to knit. Last time there was a baby on the way, it was my lovely friend's, and I knit, oh no, I didn't knit it actually, I crocheted her a beautiful blanket. I think it was called Sweet as Honey, but I will link it in the show notes. And it was all crocheted hexagons, which you crochet together, and then you crochet tiny little bees. So it just looked like bees on honeycomb, and it was really, really sweet, and I was really proud of it. Did it in acrylic, and it's been able to go out with them on picnics, and it's worn really well. So I think I'm probably going to go the acrylic route again. There are two main things that I really want to knit for this little baby that's on the way, and they are a hat and a blanket. I may mean hats. But I think that they are really lovely gifts, A blanket especially never gets outgrown, and it's something they can keep forever. You know, when they move, take it with them. Something that is just a nice memory for them to have. So there's definitely going to be a blanket, and I would love to make a couple of hats as well. So my first plan is I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Falfa Hat by Katie Gagnon Osborne. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It will be in the show notes. That is actually really, really cute. It's sort of like a little fairy hat. It's so adorable. It just covers the ears slightly, and then it comes up in a little curve at the top, and it's so elfin and so sweet. So I'm going to make one of those. And secondly, I'm going to make the berry baby hat. Baby berry hat? It's a hat for a baby that looks like a berry. And that is by Michelle Sabatier. My French is appalling. I'm really sorry. And does exactly what it says on the tin. So it's a little hat, so you can do it in any colour. So say red with like the little leaves and the little stem just on top, and it is absolutely adorable. I do need to double check when the little one is due, but I think it might be a summer baby, in which case I'm probably going to do like a strawberry, I think. I just think it's really cute, and they are, you know, sweet little things that can be kept as happy memories, I think, or as I did when I was little, put them on my teddy bears. Blanket wise, oh, the blankets I have seen, guys, seriously. The one thing that I could do while I was tripping out slightly on painkillers was go on Ravelry. So I couldn't knit, but I could plan my knitting. So first up, we have got 3 from Tin Can Knits. Now I have never ever knit a Tin Can Knits pattern, but I have seen them. I think they're beautiful, and I've heard great things. So my top 3 are Vivid, Bounce and Pop. Vivid is a slightly more traditional, I think, setup, because it's got like a floral lace pattern in the squares that kind of makes almost a flower or a star. It's really, really pretty. Bounce is, the reason I liked Bounce was because the one in the picture looks like the waves of the sea. So it starts with a dark blue and goes all the way up into a brighter turquoise, and in between they have these flowing lines of white, so it just looks like the tide rolling in, and it's just gorgeous. It's so pretty. And lastly is Pop. Now Pop is made up in the pictures. Obviously I don't know, I haven't bought the pattern yet, so I don't know exactly how it's structured, but it looks like you knit a circle, which you then knit into a square, and then you put them together. And the picture is gorgeous. The circles are all different colours, the squares are done in a much more neutral colour, and it just looks beautiful. I absolutely love it. So I'm kind of torn between those two. And just to give a special mention to crochet, I have been looking at the lovely Lucy of Attic 24's blankets, because they do make up a lot more quickly than knitted ones. And obviously babies, there is a deadline. But I think I kind of want to do the Pop one. I've never knit anything, I believe it's knit from the centre out of each square, which I've never done before, so it'd be a challenge. And I'm actually really lucky that the parents of said baby are not particularly bothered about colour. They're quite bright, cheerful, colourful people themselves, and they're not really bothered about, you know, pinks for a girl, blues for a boy, which is great, which means I can go a little bit wild. I really love making bright, cheerful things for babies because they're bright and cheerful, and they should have cheerful things, in my opinion, rather than, I'm not so much the pastel baby knitter. So I'm really excited about those. I am almost definitely going to use acrylic, just because they are not knitters, either of them. And I think it'd be a bit unfair with a new baby to say, here's a list of washing instructions. I want it to get a lot of use. I want them to, you know, wrap their little one up in their pram when they go out in it on a cold day. I want them to snuggle under it when they're off sick from school. I want them to get a good amount of use out of it. So I think acrylic is the way to go, because then they don't have to be precious about it and they can just throw it in the wash. No problems. So yeah, exciting times on the knitting front. So my original plans of, you know, finishing the Lily Pilly and casting on a new garment, that might change. But we will see. I'm really excited to have a go at a big blanket project that actually has a deadline, unlike my Cozy Memories, which is just kind of sitting on the table here asking me to knit on it. But sorry, this has no deadline. The baby blanket does. And just a final note on Whipped Up this week. I didn't actually get to do any dyeing last weekend. Boo. I was hoping to do some after work one day on one of my rest days in the gym, but unfortunately, well, I fell down the stairs. So there's that. I am hoping to do some tomorrow. It all depends how I feel, really. I have gone to work for a couple of days, which has involved being on my feet quite a bit. So I'm a bit sore today. And it all depends on whether I feel like standing up in the kitchen for a little while, because I am using a sock blank on this occasion and I really want to hand paint it, so I think it's going to take a little more time than just immersion dyeing, which I was doing before. So we will see. In the meantime, I have been looking for new yarn. I found yarnundyed.com, which is great, and I've also been looking at Laxton's. So if anyone's got any hints or tips for where they get their undyed yarn from, please let me know. I want to buy all the undyed yarn and dye it all up in beautiful colours. Yeah, maybe even knit some Weasley jumpers out of it, actually. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Just give somebody their own miniature Weasley jumper and say, by the way, I dyed that colourway just for you. That's probably taking it a bit too far, isn't it? So yeah, here's a brand new segment for the podcast. Here Be Spoilers is where I'll be talking about what I'm currently reading, listening or watching. It's called Here Be Spoilers because there may be spoilers, so hopefully that's enough of a warning. If I do go into real spoiler territory, I will warn you, don't worry, but just kind of assume that I may let things slip. So first up, I wanted to talk about Star Trek Next Generation. I think I mentioned it last week. I'm almost sure I did. We have started watching this only in the last couple of weeks. Previously, we have watched Star Trek Voyager, which I loved. I loved Star Trek Voyager. It was absolutely brilliant. I thought Captain Janeway was she was amazing. I loved her. You know, what would Janeway do? That's how we should run our lives. I just loved her. I really did. You probably can't tell. So yeah, then we wanted to have a watch of some other things from the Star Trek universe. And we tried Deep Space Nine. I'm really sorry, guys. I just did not get... I don't think we finished the first episode. I thought it was really bad. Sorry. The premise I really liked. I really liked the idea of, you know, I believe I'd heard that it was a bit darker in places, that the ethics were a bit muddier, that Starfleet wasn't quite always the perfect shining example of humanity that it has been in other series, which really excited me. But unfortunately, I just thought the main character was just awful. I didn't think he could act at all, so I just couldn't get past that, really. I can suspend my belief on a lot of things, bad makeup, wobbly sets. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I can suspend my disbelief. But this was I just couldn't. Sorry. So then my boyfriend Rich, who is a big Star Trek fan, he's seen all of Deep Space Nine, but even he, watching it back, was like, thank God I was little when I watched this and I didn't realise quite how bad it was. Said we should try Next Generation. And I kind of dillied and dallied for a bit, and then I said, okay, yeah, I mean, it's Patrick Stewart, how bad can it be? Not bad at all, as it turns out. I love it. It's so much fun. I have had the privilege of seeing Patrick Stewart live in theatre. I saw him playing the ghost of Hamlet's father and Claudius in the David Tennant production of Hamlet. Unfortunately, it was one of the shows where David Tennant was off with a bad back. But hey, Patrick Stewart, he was amazing. He is such a fantastic actor, and I feel like he brings such gravitas to this show, while at the same time clearly having a ball. You know, some of the stuff that he gets to do is just fun and bonkers, and I really enjoy it. But I have to say, Data is my favourite character. I just love him. I love him so much. I love his naivety, and I love almost how his naivety makes him the better person, because he's so clear-sighted. He doesn't have any of these complex, you know, adult human responses to things. He just sees things clearly as they are, and more often than not makes the right decision. I just love him. I really do. He's my favourite. Which brings me to my least favourite character, who is Deanna Troi. I'm sorry, I mean, I'm all for female solidarity and all that, but I don't understand her function. I really don't. I don't understand what the point of her is. You know, I completely understand how in those situations it would be great to have somebody who's empathic and who can read situations, but I mean, it's like giving someone a picture book, and it's just weird, because she'll stand there and she'll go, someone will be, you know, carrying on and shouting and things, and she'll go, I sense that he's really angry, Captain. And you're just sitting there like, and all the bridge crew are like, yeah, thank you for that insight, Deanna, and that's amazing. It's like, I really want one of them to turn around to her and be like, we know, give us something more than that. You know, she's just infuriating. She's so annoying. I can't stand her. The episodes that she's not in that much, big thumbs up from me. Love them. I do have quite a fondness for Commander Riker, just because he's so aware of his epicness. It's hilarious. There'll be moments where he'll be like, yes, Captain, we will. And I love that. I love that he took Jonathan Frakes, I think, is the actor who plays him. Love it. Just love that he knew that he was the cavalier number one officer who's really heroic, really gorgeous, and he knows. So yeah, I'm having a great time with Star Trek. Brilliant fun. Something else we've been watching a lot of recently is Studio Ghibli. We went through a period a year and a half, 2 years ago, of watching one every Friday night. But there are still quite a few that we haven't seen, and recently we watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind and Whispers of the Heart, both of which I would recommend. Nausicaa has got a very strong environmental message, but I find quite a lot of Ghibli's do. That's about a world in the future where the forest is slowly taking over and it's toxic, and there are these massively giant insects that live in there, and the people are trying to eke out an existence alongside these forests and these insects. It's just beautiful. It's such a beautiful film. Patrick Stewart's in that, actually. I think he does one of the voices in that one. It's great. I think that what I like about Ghibli, more so than Disney, is that it's not just trying to tell you a sweet story. You know, Disney is fantastic with shows like Aladdin, where it will be this fantastic story about, you know, there'll be visually stunning and music and these great voice actors, and there is usually a very simplistic moral. You know, that you don't have to be a prince to be, you know, the man who deserves the princess. You don't Beauty and the Beast, you know, you fall in love with a person rather than what they look like. But Ghibli doesn't actually have that kind of simplistic moral. It's a lot more complex, and it really makes you think, which is why I think it's probably actually quite a good set of films for kids, because it provokes questions. You know, you can ask them, you know, what did you think of that? But also this element, what did you think of that? Do you think this character did the right thing? And they're also really fun. They're really fun. After Nausicaa, we have watched Whispers of the Heart, which I believe was one animator in the studio. It was his last film before he died, which is really sad because it's such a good film. It's set in the modern day, and it's just about two young people who are pursuing their dreams, starting a little bit of a romance, and instead, what I really liked about it is instead of it being this all-consuming, you know, teenage passion, they both have these very separate passions in their life that they want to pursue as careers, and they both go and do that. And they encourage each other to do that, and they work together as a team to support each other to get to where they want to be. And I just think that is such a positive message, and just such a lovely, lovely thing to see, instead of the old cliche of, you know, teenagers who can only see each other and they have no other interests, which I think is a very simplistic view, and it's a shame that you see that so often in some shows. So Whispers of the Heart, that's another big thumbs up from me. I think we are going to pluck up the courage to watch Grave of the Fireflies at some point. I haven't seen that. I've heard it is incredibly sad. So I've been holding off on that one a little bit. And there's one called Up on Poppy Hill, which I've heard is quite good as well. So I'm going to check that one out. One of my favourites is The Cat Returns, which is fantastic. It's so funny. It's just brilliant. And that's a soft sequel to Whispers of the Heart. So you don't need to have seen Whispers of the Heart to understand The Cat Returns. Just know that it's brilliant and you should definitely see it. It's just so much fun. And another one that's probably my favourite is Kiki's Delivery Service. I just love it. You think it's this really just sweet, straightforward, simple story, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. You know, it's about growing up. It's about what's really important. And I should probably watch that again soon because I love that film. My Neighbour Totoro. I've got to admit, I pushed that back down the list when we were watching Ghibli's because there was so much hype around it. Believe it, it's fantastic. I loved it. I think May, the little girl in it, is one of my favourite characters. She's just lovely. She's so tiny, she's so stubborn, and she's so determined, and I just love her. I think she's wonderful. That's what we've been watching lately. Be great to hear what you're watching. If there are any Ghibli's that you really, really love and that I might not have watched yet that you want to recommend to me, please do. If you want to put the case for Deep Space Nine, please do that as well. I'm willing to give it another go if I can get enough encouragement. So yeah, let me know. So there is another new segment on today's podcast called Goal Power. I am really organised and I love my diary purely because I'm actually quite naturally quite a chaotic, messy person. I get very anxious though if I have to hold a lot of stuff in my head. So I find writing lists, getting it all out on paper just calms me down and leaves my head free to think about, you know, other things like colour and yarn and, you know, fun things like that. So at the beginning of the year, I think around March, I started a bullet journal. Previously I was very much a Filofax girl, but I just found after about 4 years of using a Filofax, suddenly I was starting to feel that I needed more flexibility. And I heard about the bullet journal and I thought I'd give it a go. And I actually keep all my bullet journal supplies in this Sun Jellies bag, which I got in my Blogtacular goodie bag. And it just means I've got all my pens and my bullet journal to hand. So when I'm at home, the bullet journal goes straight in there. If I need to take it out with me, I know where it is. Just makes life a lot easier. So I thought I'd show you what I have been doing with my bullet journal. Just to kind of explain my thought process between what I'm going to do next. So, you know, I won't show you this because there's a few personal bits in here, but I started off with a master list of things that needed doing that weren't particularly immediate jobs. So, for example, clear out under bed boxes or sort out craft corner, which is what I did a couple of weeks ago. So things that if I ever find I'm at a loss, I can have a look on my master list and kind of go, oh, I could tick one of those off. So that's why I've got that. Next up, I've got my financial tracker and my targets. I just find it helps me to kind of check in once a month, to kind of see where I am, where I'm going, and it just helps me keep focused on what I'm saving for. Next up, I really can't show you this, it's a gift list. I jot down here the name, the idea and the occasion. So if, for example, I'm out and about and I see something really cool and I think, oh, that'd be really great for my mum, but it's August, so, you know, Christmas is a while away, it's not her birthday again till the following year, I jot it down because then I've got plenty of ideas to draw on and I'm not coming up to December going, I had this great idea and now I can't remember it. So yeah, I'd really recommend that. That's a really good good way of not forgetting things. I then drew out the rest of the year in calendar form. So I did over 2 pages, just a little box, colour-coded things with things to do, events, you know, any reminders, when Rich was going away for work, coming back, birthdays, everything went in there. And I had from March till the end of the year there. And then what I was doing was, let's find, have we got March somewhere? Yeah. And then what I was doing was drawing out the month as it started. So back in March, I was using a morning, afternoon, evening breakdown. So anything, you know, that needed to be done in the evening would go in this column, morning, this column. And I was also keeping track of my goals there as well. And then on the next page, I was tracking things like working out, social media, blogging, and ticking them off every day. Now, I found that wasn't really working for me. There wasn't much room to write. And it was just not, yeah, it just wasn't quite right for me. So for April, I just did a column for birthdays, events, meetups and reminders, which I kept for a couple of months. Obviously I was using the usual standard bullet journal breakdown for my actual daily to-dos, but I was still using this, you know, whole page tracker, and it was just getting a bit too much. So let's flick to September, which is where, so I'm just going through all of my Blogtacular notes. I didn't know I'd taken so many. It started in July, my new breakdown, where I just gave every day 2 lines, and I actually started tracking everything as a colour on that day, which meant that I could have a look at the end of the month at a glance and I could go, okay, great, I did really well on my water intake. I Instagrammed most days, I exercised most days, brilliant. And then, you know, I wasn't taking up loads of pages. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I find that really works for me. And I've recently started in September, at the beginning of the month, jotting down the goals that I want to achieve that month, and then breaking them down into to-dos. And then when I come to my daily to-do list, I go over there and I try and pull something from those. Usually I get a lot more done over the weekends, but sometimes if it's a small thing, I can get them done in the evenings. What I'm planning to do, instead of this monthly drawing out of the diary and using the calendar at the beginning of the bullet journal to actually log anything that comes after that month. I'm actually going to draw out over 2 pages. I'm going to go October, November, December over the next few pages. And then, you know, when I get to the middle of this month, end of this month, and people are talking about, hey, what are you doing in November? I don't have to flick back to the calendar. I can just flick to the next page. It's all there, all in one go. And then I am going to keep doing my monthly goals, broken down into steps, which I can then pull over. But I might have a go at being a little bit more organised with those. Even more organised. I'm going to have a think about what I want to achieve in the last quarter of the year. Then I'm going to break those things down into 3 goals, 3 main goals, because I feel like anything more than that is a bit much. And then I'm going to break those down into weekly goals, just so that I can come to the end of the year feeling really, really good, you know, like I've achieved a lot. Now, just to make it clear, these goals do not have to be start your own business, save 10 grand. They don't have to be big things. One of mine is almost definitely going to be about having a relaxing Christmas, which will be a goal for every month. So, for example, by the end of October, I'm going to want to have made my Christmas puddings to give them plenty of time to mature. And I'm going to want to have finished up all of the stocking work that I need to do. November, I'm going to want to make a big dent in my Christmas shopping, things like that. You know, maybe by the end of November, I'm going to want to know the main big meetups in December for present swapping. Things like this, which are just going to make my life, come December, much easier. I won't be running around like a headless chicken like I have done some years. And while that's not, you know, a big tick goal, like saving money, like getting a new job, things like that, that's important. That's going to mean that I end the year really, really happily. Another goal might be that I aim to maybe save a little bit more by the end of the year. I don't know, I need to have a think about them. But you need to think about what's actually going to make you happy. You know, an example of your dreams not having to be big is the London Marathon. For me, was a big thing. I am from London. I used to watch the London Marathon every year. I've been and seen it happen, and I've always thought that's something that would be great to do. Yeah, we should definitely do that. And a friend of mine agreed with me. So we decided to do a half marathon. We trained, we did it. I hated absolutely every minute of it. So I decided I'm not going to run the London Marathon. Just no. I hate it. I hate running. I hate long distance running. So great as it would be to have this big tick in my life that was done the London Marathon, it's not going to make me happy. It's no longer on my goals list. So, you know, don't ever beat yourself up about, oh, you know, my goal is only, you know, learn to sew, or I don't know, like clear my credit card. You know, and I look around at all these other people who are, you know, their goal is buy their first home, start a business, and doing all these really big, big things. But that's what makes them happy. Your goals have to be about making you happy. So yeah, next week I will share with you my setup and how that's working for me, and I'll let you know. But yeah, I really do recommend the bullet journal system. It's very, very intuitive, as you can see. Mine has evolved over the last sort of 6 months or so that I've been using it, and it's going to continue to evolve. So when I inevitably do have that feeling of the setup's not quite working for me anymore, it's fine. I just flick to a new page and start again. It's not already laid out for me. So yeah, bullet journal, it's the future. Today's last segment is Knit and Natter, and it's going to be all about Lush. Lush is one of my favourite companies. I was feeling a bit down today because, you know, my ankle's really sore and I've been working out quite a lot recently and have started to feel really, really good, and was starting to see really positive changes in my body. I was starting to lift a lot heavier weights. I was starting to perform so much better in things like spinning, Pilates and Insanity, which are regular classes that I went to. And I was just starting to feel a bit down because obviously I hadn't been able to do any of that all week. I'm hoping that I can maybe do something gentle towards the end of next week. But no, I'm generally feeling a bit about that. And so this morning I got up and I put makeup on for the first time in a week. I've been going to work with pretty much none on because I've just felt like I didn't see the point. So I put some makeup on and decided to go and treat myself at Lush because the Halloween goodies are out, as are the Christmas goodies, but I'm not buying those yet because it's still Halloween. So this I didn't buy today, but I just wanted to mention it. This is Ultra Balm, and they call it an all-purpose balm for bits that chap and chafe. Restoring, soothing, protecting, relieving and moisturising. I carry this around with me constantly. I bought it when I got my tattoos because I'd heard it was quite good for those, and it's been really, really great for them. But I use it as a lip balm, I use it on my elbows, I use it on my knuckles. When it gets chilly, the skin just around my lips and on my knuckles gets very, very dry and can crack very easily. So I've been using this. Even though it's not getting very cold yet, I am aiming to not get in that situation again by taking care of myself now. So Ultra Balm, little goes a long way. So even though it looks a bit expensive, it actually works out quite well in the long run. But what did I buy today? Now, I picked up my very favourite fresh face mask, which is Cupcake. I've actually had enough black pots left to get this for free, but I forgot to take them with me. Hooray! But I desperately wanted some, so I just bought it, and I will get the freebie next time. And in the meantime, I will have another black pot to add. I've got quite oily skin, and I just find this really does the job, and it smells absolutely beautiful. It's like cupcakes, like brownies, but sort of mintier, and it's just lovely. It really is. And my skin just feels so soft and so clean afterwards. That is one of my favourites. I have tried all the others, including the new one, Don't Look at Me. They're all great. This is what works for me though, Cupcake. One of the really regular things I buy from Lush is shampoo. I say one of the regular things because if I had my way, I would have it all. I would have Honey I Wash the Kids, I think, is the shower gel, which smells like honey. It's gorgeous. I'd have Karma soap. I'd have a bath bomb every single day. I'd have all of the gorgeous hair masks and conditioners. But because Lush do pay their producers a fair wage, because they get top quality ingredients, and because it's all natural, it can be a bit spendy. So shampoo is one of the things that I regularly buy, and I get shampoo bars. This is Scenic, which is like a salty, jasmine-y, just, oh, it smells so good. Oh, that's really lovely. Sorry. But in the shop you can't really smell them as well because of all the other scents. So yeah, that is gorgeous. I haven't had Scenic for a while. I went off it a little bit because the little bits of seaweed that are in there, oh, that's a bit crumbling off. You can just see that there, maybe. You know, I don't really have time in the morning to be brushing seaweed out of my hair, but this one looked like it didn't have too much in. And it does do my hair the world of good. I've got quite fine hair, it's quite soft, and this is fantastic. Something else that I really want to try is they've got this static spray, which I have tried in the shop and is brilliant. So maybe that's a treat for next time I go. Now, I'm not going to deny that I actually went with a list. I wanted to get a face mask, I wanted to get my shampoo, but I also wanted to get some Halloween goodies. And I had a look online and I saw they had a brand new bath bomb. I think it's called Jack-o'-lantern, but I will link it in the show notes. And it's just an orange bath bomb with the, you know, triangular eyes and big grin of a carved pumpkin. And it sounded gorgeous. Cinnamon and nutmeg and all my favourite, you know, really autumnal scents. And I really wanted that, and I was going to have this wonderful autumnal bath. I was going to have a cup of hot chocolate. I'd really, really worked this up in my head. And then I got there and they were out of stock. So, womp womp. But I couldn't leave without getting myself a Halloween treat. So, I had a sniff, and as I said, you can't really smell them as well as when you get home because your nose is kind of confused by everything else that's happening. And I got little Boo! Isn't he cute? He is actually a bath melt, and he smells so good. So yeah, little Boo is a bath melt. So he's not a bomb, he's not going to fizz and bubble and, you know, be all kind of crazy in the bath. He is just going to melt. I believe there's shea butter in here, but it's sandalwood and mandarin, and he just smells, he smells gorgeous. And there is kind of an autumnal, yeah, very good. So he's going to be my hot chocolate in the bath treat at some point this weekend because I deserve it. I've had a rubbish week. Bath melt is the way forward. Lastly, I got myself something that I've looked at in the shop every time I've gone for the last few months, but haven't actually ever bought. Just pause that. And this is one of their bubble bars, which is a milk bottle. I tend to use this, well, bubble bars, I've never actually used this one, in halves or thirds. The Comforter, for example, which is the big white and pink swirl. That's huge. There's another one I think called Blue Skies, which may have been discontinued, but they're massive. You can get a good 5 baths out of those. So yeah, this one has got orange and soy milk in it, and as well as a lot of cocoa butter. I don't normally buy glittery ones. They actually did have a pumpkin bath bomb in stock, but it was the glittery one. I'm not too into the glittery stuff, I have to admit. But this is so little, I thought it'd be absolutely fine. I think I could probably get 3 baths out of these. Yeah. I mean, I could have 2 really decadent ones, or 3, you know, fairly good ones. So we'll see how I feel when I first use it, but it's not too orangey. I can definitely smell the cocoa butter. And yeah. It smells like it's going to be really soothing and really gentle, which is kind of everything I've bought. Very, very gentle, not really harsh, dramatic scents. Yeah. I've probably got milk bottle dust on my nose now. But yeah, I would really recommend Lush. It can be a bit intimidating to go in there purely because there is so much in there and it smells pretty strongly. As I said, sometimes you don't really know how strong or how complex the scent is until you get it home, just because there's a lot of distraction for your nose in there. But I would highly recommend their stuff. I've never had a problem with it. And I also really, I'm really impressed by them as a company. I really like that they really stand by their ethics. They support charities and they are not afraid to stand up and be counted and to say out loud what they believe in. And I think that's amazing because in this day and age, for want of sounding like someone much older than myself, you know, these days we see so much about, you know, brand integrity and people protecting their brands, but Lush, I feel, is not afraid to stand up and strike out and do what it believes to be right and to do good in the world, and I really admire that. So yeah, I would highly recommend Lush, if not for being a great ethical company, for having great smelling things that, yeah, they'll make me feel a lot better and a lot more cheerful. Thank you for spending some time with me this week. It has been A little bit easier than last week's filming. It's definitely been a bit quicker. And let's have another cup of tea next week. Take care, bye.